find her remote or something? Maybe we should like return it?
Yeah, should we try to find a staff member?
Sure.
Okay.
What does this button do?
You shouldn't push it. I mean, it isn't ours.
Where are we now?
Come over here. I think I can see the Earth.
How do we get back down there?
Maybe if we could use the remote again, maybe we can go back.
I hope so.
Can we look around first?
Just a little bit.
Come over here and look at this.
What's that?
Beautiful, just beautiful.
That's Neil Armstrong. This must be the moon landing of June 20th, 1969. He was the first human to walk on the moon. He was also the commander of Apollo 11. I think the remote is a time machine.
Wow, that's so cool. We can go at any point in time.
I think so, but we should be careful not to overdo it.
Yeah. Why is he putting the flag in the ground?
Because putting the flag on the moon was meant to be symbolic. It was showing that the United States has been there.
Weren't they worried that other countries would be in conflict with each other?
Yes, that's why in 1967, the United States signed a treaty called the Outer Space Treaty, which made it so that the United States, or anybody in general, couldn't own a certain planet.
Wow, you did a lot of research on this.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you want to go meet the Robinsons?
No, let's go see the dinosaurs.
Well, I have this, so... It's the Vietnam War. Go behind that tree.
Why are the Vietnamese fighting with the French and Americans?
Well, you see, it was a civil war over Vietnam, many countries trying to claim it, and it ended in a terrible war between the French, America, and China, Japan, and Vietnam. And over 3 million people died, including American soldiers, and half of them being Vietnamese civilians.
So tell me more. Why are they even fighting in the first place?
Well, you see, there was this communist, Ho Chi Minh. It started when he created the Indo-Chinese Party that consisted of Vietnamese exiles. But he was expelled from China because of this reason. He changed his name and traveled for a long period of time until 1940. Upon returning back, then he made an organization, Viet Minh, to fight for Vietnamese independence. When Japan occupied French Indochina in 1940, Ho made contact with the Allies and aided against Japan in South China. Finally, in 1945, Japan surrendered to them, and Vietnam was finally independent.
Yay! So the war's over?
No, it's just the beginning. You see, French seized South Vietnam, which had democratic views, and Vietnam controlled northern Vietnam, which was communist. This was called the French Indochina War, which then aided the Second Indochina War.
There's more?
Yeah. French tried discussing with the Vietnamese communists, but their discussions ended up in conflict. In 1946, French warships bombarded the northern Vietnamese city of Hai Phong, killing thousands. Then Viet Minh launched an attack on the French. Mao Zedong, Chinese communists, supported the Viet Minh, while the United States aided the French and anti-communist Vietnamese forces. After the French lost a defeat from Dien Bien Phu, they made a negotiation to divide Vietnam into South and Northern Vietnam.
They made peace after the Dien Bien Phu?
Yes, they made peace negotiations in the 17th parallel within Geneva.
Should we try to fix the timeline? Maybe so they don't have actual conflict? I mean, it would be kind of nice. Change history a little bit.
Maybe not. History shouldn't be altered with, because we shouldn't have gained empathy. We would lose a piece of history, which would create a different future for better or for worse.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Can we just try pressing it this time?
Okay. Where are we now?
I think we're in New York.
Well, tell me some information about it.
Okay. In the early morning on September 11th, 2001, militants from the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda, they hijacked 4 planes and proceeded to carry out 2 suicide attacks on the Twin Towers. The third airplane hit the Pentagon, and the fourth plane crashed into a field. Almost 3,000 casualties from American civilians. It left a hole on the 80th floor on one of the Twin Tower skyscrapers, the 110th story floor. 18 minutes after a second airplane called a Boeing 767 turned sharply towards the World Trade Center and sliced the South Tower near the 60th floor. Al-Qaeda terrorist group organization of the Saudi fugitive Osama bin Laden. The terrorists carried box cutters and knives through security on the East Coast at 4:30 a.m. so they could go and get ready to hijack the airplanes. On the west side of the Pentagon, military headquarters at 9:45 a.m. 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with all 64 aboard the airliner. Fourth California-bound plane, United Flight 93, was hijacked about 40 minutes after leaving Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. All of these people on board were killed by the plane crashing. 2,996 got killed in the 9/11, including the 19 hijackers. 2,763 died after the two planes slammed into the Twin Towers. Pentagon, 189 people were killed, including 64 on American Airlines 77. Flight 93, 44 people died when the plane crash landed in Pennsylvania. During the terrorist attacks, George Bush made a televised at the Oval Office stating, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundations of America. These acts shattered steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve." Operation Enduring Freedom, the American-led international effort to oust the Taliban regime in Afghanistan and destroy Osama bin Laden's terrorist network based there, began on October 7th. Within 2 months, the U.S. removed the Taliban from operational power. Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks, remained at large until May 2nd, 2011, when he was finally tracked down and killed by two U.S. forces hideout in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
Well, this is kind of sad.
Yeah, let's go somewhere else.
Okay.
I think we're in different eras of music. Look, the 1960s and 70s.
Really? Do you know anything about it?
Well, let me tell you.
The first top hit of the 1960s was the song Shop Around. The 1960s were a time of racial integration. The 1960s were considered rebellious songs. The rebellious era of music ended after the Woodstock in 1969. The 1970s were a time of the rock era, which is famous for its huge leap. The 1970s were considered happy songs. The 1970s was a time of relaxing and music to dance to. The 1970s was also the disco era. The African Americans brought jazz to the U.S. and the drums.
I have enough time traveling. What do you think we go back?
I agree.
I think because we were pressing the different numbers, so I wonder if we press 9, we might go back to 2019.
That'd be nice. Let's try it.
Do you think Americans should be optimistic about the future?
I believe that Americans should be optimistic about the future because of the technology, the military, and the progress we have made today. To have faith in something to better our lives and our country.